What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing out of key. And after that little bit of singing, it's lovely to welcome you to episode 5 of Agilifying Agile Coaches. Community. Get by with a little help from our friends. Change is hard and will require more than you. A bad system defeats a good person every time. So, as an Agile coach, we are going to have to build human support systems to help the organisation move forward and help ourselves survive the experience. First, we must make sure we build an environment for ourselves to make errors. If we cannot make it safe to fail for us, how can we start building that for our teams? If it is not safe to fail, then we may adopt a risk-averse approach and change nothing, making us not an Agile coach, but an Agile actor creating Agile theatre. The other direction, unbelievably, is worse. If it is not safe to fail, then we will create casualties when we fail. Us, yes, but worse still, we would leave a trail of destruction of our ex-colleagues and ex-companies. Remember, the common factor in all the failures at all your previous companies was you. So, how do we create a safe-to-fail environment? Let's first look at some ways of splitting out the genuine safe areas from the dangerous ones. The goodwill technique from the last episode is one. Here are some other ways to work through those areas, all based around the idea of human support systems. Pair. I believe that pairing is underused as an Agile technique in development teams, and I am a proponent in using this method outside of software. I like to pair coach. When I work in a company, I often find that any change I help introduce can fade as I leave. Now I make sure that I build the capability to change and not just the change itself. I personally do this via pairing with an internal member of staff, either a Scrum Master or an Agile coach, and working side by side with them in a collaborate stance. I help them develop their skills as well as develop the organisation's, as well as developing my own. I learn so much, and I'm happy to admit that there are far better coaches out there than me. A pair can also be a true peer relationship. Whilst I haven't had the chance to do it recently, I used to really enjoy pairing with a fellow coach at BT, where I first became an Agile coach. We found we could riff off each other quite effectively. One coaching pattern I liked to adopt was to have the two coaches adopt different stances. One could be in a teaching stance, perhaps explaining a concept, and then another could interlace that with more of a coaching stance, using Socratic questionings to weave together a quite interesting approach. Also with a pair, you have someone who can help correct and facilitate if the other one starts to go a little too far off-piste, as we say. Team. The concept of team has been missing for many corporations in recent history. Well, at least until the appearance of Agile. Teams just meant for them a collection of individuals with individual goals. Hang on a second, that sounds a lot like how people are resourcing their Agile coaches. We need more coaching as a team. In large organisational change, we will need to have comrades who work tightly with us, support us, interwork with us, and offer complementary skills to enable us. And that is a full video all on its own. Suffice to say, this is a missing piece in many companies, and we must devote some time to create, build, support, nurture, and sustain coaching teams and not just individual coaches. Communities of practice. This is a pattern that has existed under numerous different names. Communities of practice, guilds. I thought I invented the concept back in the noughties and called it webs. Oh, the vanity of youth. I would prefer to use the term guild myself, as I feel that is closest to what we are trying to achieve here, but that term has been used in Spotify and has picked up a very distinct flavour. Whatever you call them, these are formal groupings of people with similar interests and technology focus. They frequently collaborate to share knowledge and improve their collective skills. And this is a very common organisational structure, but it's notorious for being implemented in a weak or half-hearted fashion. These can easily be theoretical talking shops focused on theory and abstract concepts rather than the harsh reality, or a dip of a toe in the water of a particular subject. In the industry, these are sometimes called communities of interest, and there is a place for that. But that isn't really what a community of practice is supposed to be. When I first implement these, I try to make sure we have a core team supporting them and offering a good calendar of options to seed the experience. And then I try and draw the community in and have them deliver bottom-up content to supplement that core team, and then finally take ownership as a real cooperative. This can be done with tools such as OpenSpace or World Cafe. It doesn't just have to be presentations. What we need to do is ensure that this is a genuine environment where serious practitioners can obtain what is regarded as some of the key elements of having effective cooperation. We want mutual engagement, as we've just discussed before, joint enterprise, a shared understanding of what binds us, and shared repertoire. That communal output that can be used by the entire cooperative. These community of practices, these COPs, must never become COPs. If they are enforcing a flavour of Agile across the organisation, then they will never be effective or useful, because people will just not turn up. Scrum Masters. This is my secret sauce in organisational change and Agile coaching. We have this often forgotten force of ground troops who can support and lead any change effort, and we are supposed to have a lot of them. Unlike those communities of practice or cooperations, which can be an adjunct or sideline of someone's work, the Scrum Masters community's work is change, and therefore they must frequently come together to support each other and support you, the coach. Don't forget, the Scrum Master is an upgrade of Agile Coach. Don't you remember the old Scrum joke about pigs and chickens?
Hey pig, I was thinking we should open a restaurant.
I don't know. What would we call it?
How about ham and eggs?
No thanks. I'll be committed, but you'd only be involved. Thanks to Mike Visdos for that cartoon. There is definitely an argument to be made that you as an Agile coach are a chicken, bark, 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 and the Scrum Master is a pig, committed to the game. Scrum Masters are like organisational antibodies. One antibody on its own will fix nothing in a body, but get a lot of them and then we start really having some effect. By having so many coaches available, we can spread the workload of change and run trials in parallel to each other. Whilst each experience is unique, there may be some relevant learning we can share. Scrum Masters are the ground troops of the change. If we engage them, we can catalyse and ignite our culture towards changing. For me, these are the most important community for you. If you can coach them to coach others, you are massively magnifying your effectiveness. Scrum Masters are an Agile coach force multiplier. Roleplay. I mentioned about the risk of leaving a trail of carnage behind a newer coach, as they learn over the bodies of their colleagues. This is caused by the fact that most experiences of coaches are learned by, as we would say in development, developing in live. So what about the idea of role play? Simulating work without the consequences of failure. Well, I am still experimenting with this idea, to be truthful, and we have all done short role plays in training workshops. But can we bring that to life? With the growth of immersion online roleplay, the concept of spending significant time on such an event doesn't seem as toe-curling as it would have been even 5 years ago. I have recently been trying in a coaching engagement to develop up a parallel simulated product development for some newer Scrum Masters to experiment with. If you ever experienced any sort of play-by-mail role-playing games in the 1980s, then you would be familiar with the idea. Coach or mentor? Coaches need coaches. Do you have someone who can act in a coaching capacity for yourself? Whether a professional relationship or less formal? Whether in the workplace structure or outside? It doesn't matter as much as having that person there to help you help yourself. A mentor can be someone who provides advice and has more experience in the area you're looking to grow. An advisor who can consult with you and comment. A coach is all about helping you know yourself and your situation better. A mirror to challenge your own thought processes and motivations. Even some of the most famous agile coaches have coaches. This is regarded as standard in the professional coaching sphere. Of course, it is hard to find someone who will fill this role in your life, and vitally, actually fit this role in your life. There has to be the right meshing between the two of you. I know someone who has worked their way through a range of coaches and mentors and hasn't yet found that someone with the right mix of attributes that they feel would be able to help them. Though be careful, as Yoda said,
"Judge me by my size, do you?"
Mentors come in all shapes and sizes, and often not in the form you would expect. I have a personal admission to make. I myself have never had a mentor figure, and I sense that I have missed out of opportunities and learning because of it. Clubs and buddies. Most of these ideas are taking place in our world of work. I believe there is a need for support outside the office. Clubs and buddies is the name I gave to two of these patterns. The first is the outside of work community. Do we have the ability to meet others from other workplaces and share ideas, knowledge and support? The best implementation I have seen of this is in the Agile world, is with the Scrum Alliance user groups. However, there are other Agile clubs out there, so it is not solely a Scrum Alliance thing. I have also seen this work online, but in a more private setting than LinkedIn. I always imagined that LinkedIn would be perfect for this, but I have found it to be a bit of an unsafe political space. What you want with this club concept is to have a social group that you can drop the coaching mask and engage with as a human being. Buddies is a similar concept, but with a smaller circle again. Do you have one or two people you can go to discuss your more personal ideas and issues? This is not a mentor figure, but more a couple of peers, a couple of gym buddies, if you will, you can really be vulnerable with. A friend to sympathise with your situation. Sometimes people don't want answers, you see, or solutions, or even coaching. They just want to be heard. Remember, I wrote at the start about making environments safe to fail. And all these support systems can really make it feel safe to try. Remember, one of your biggest obstacles is yourself. If you feel unsafe, then you may not even make an attempt to change anything. These human support groups are well placed to raise your confidence and make you feel nurtured enough to try for yourself by building the right environment around yourself, not just the teams and not just for the organizational change. Now, you may as a coach look to the existing human structures in your company for support. If there is assistance there, then great. The traditional management structure can be utilized to fulfill some of your needs. But, and you knew a but was coming, be careful. I have frequently used a slightly snarky phrase in the past. Bureaucrats support a bureaucracy. I employed this remark to explain the difficulties in changing organisations when the people who typically bring you in are the people supporting, i.e. bear all or part of the weight of, hold up, the status quo as part of their job, thus often end up supporting, give approval, comfort or encouragement to, the same status quo. We can look at this in more general terms. Position perverts position. The role or job or task that a person has will distort their appreciation of any situation. So be aware of that when building up your own human support network. I personally would prefer to keep my mentors and all personal coaches outside of my direct line management in work. In conclusion, as an Agile coach, you are looking to help your colleagues help themselves in a work context, not in a personal one. You are looking to help them gain agility. You are an Agile coach. Just because you're an expert in one field, though, doesn't make your expertise automatically translate to a different field, such as cloud or crypto. You're an Agile coach. I guess position perverts position in coaches as much as everyone else. That's going to be one part of our final episode in this series. Physician, heal thyself. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.